Fred Film Radio, Angelo Acerbi from the Torino Film Festival, 42nd edition, here with Esteban Arango and River Gallo for Ponyboi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it was a pleasure watching your film yesterday at the press screening. It was really entertaining and touching and deep. So we're going to talk about that. Actually, the movie is like a one-night noir film with a very intense pace, but as well very intimate. So how did you write that? You are also the writer of the film, so it's your responsibility.
How did I write that? I honestly, a lot of sleepless nights, I write in my bedroom and at the library in LA. I wrote it based on, I always tell people, like other screenwriters, that to write something that has a sense of urgency, that there's an urgency for needing to be expressed. And I think for me, this story was something that for the last 10 years, like I just couldn't, through different iterations of theater and short films and now the feature, I just knew that the world needed it, but mostly I needed it for myself to come to terms with different parts of my own identity. And also I was trying to have fun. And I think that was a big thing, that there was a version of this movie that could have been much more serious. And it's there's some serious and dark moments in it.
Serious enough.
But I think for me, it was important that something that I think people forget is like that this is, or that I try to remember at least, is that this is the entertainment industry. And part of me does want to entertain. And it's just part of the nature of my work and my writing to have a sense of challenge to the audience, but also give them a little bit that they could, have fun and play with. So I'm always kind of like working in that space. How do I twist audiences' expectations, but then also like give them a reward for enduring a lot? So it's a pretty sadist masochist relationship that I have in my writing, but I try to have fun in that way and try to allow the audience to experience pleasure.
Esteban, when did you read the script? How was your first visualization of it? Because the movie is all like 2/3 of the movie are shot at night, but the night is very lit up. It's not dark. I mean, it's dark because it's night, but it's not, there's a lot of light, there's a lot of contrast. It's very lively. So how did you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. When I read the script, it read as like, this story is very dark, and chiaroscuro came to mind immediately. And oddly enough, Fight Club, the movie, just like images from that movie came to mind, because I think both stories, what they share is, a protagonist who lives inside of their head. And so in both movies, you get spaces where you get the reality of the world, this oppressive city that feels hyper masculine and very oppressive to the person that these protagonists want to be, while at the same time being contrasted by the neon around them, the light that these characters are trying to project. And night has so much potential to explore gray areas and shady morals, and to me that's what's fun in movies. I like movies that feel dangerous and provocative and risque, and so what better way to explore that than a movie at night?
And then Ponyboi is exactly all of that. Is over the top, is risque, is funny, is dark, is dramatic. So the character of Ponyboi, is what's really impressed me was that we have a vision of Ponyboi at the beginning of the film that is completely different in the end, because we discover little by little what their life has been, and it gets more serious. Well, it starts like a genre movie, then it becomes like a serious dramatic plot. So is the do you think, River, that acceptance and self-recognition was the key element for the film, to me, for Ponyboi, because what we grew with this character, right?
It was always a story about, even the short film. I think that's what I really appreciate. What happened in the translation of the short to the feature is that we stayed true to the theme of self-actualization, of someone becoming comfortable with not knowing who they are, becoming comfortable with, or maybe not even comfortable is the word, actually. It's more like someone discovering that they're inherently powerful, and they're inherently powerful even in the mistakes that they've made in their past.
Mm-hmm.
And they're inherently powerful in forgiving other people's mistakes that they've made in their past. So it becomes a story of what's the word? Not, oh my God, what's the word? Yes, redemption. Mm-hmm. It's a story about redemption, self-redemption, really. Yeah. And how it ripples outward into the other characters and the people in their life, and how their journeys also reflect back to Ponyboi parts of themselves.
Mm-hmm. There is also a part of great purity of the character, because Ponyboi is a huge dreamer, hyper romantic, looking for the person is going to change their life. So, and this is really touching, and it's really enduring, because even if life is so dark and so difficult, and people are so mean and whatever, Ponyboi manages to keep this hope up. Yeah. So this is the question is, all the Murray Bartlett character is a dream, or is like a self consciousness shield that Ponyboi builds up unconsciously in order to protect itself from the world.
It's all of those things and more. I think the beauty of that character is that it represents, like you said, Ponyboy's optimism and aspirations of finding true love, or the love that he hasn't found throughout his life. That's honestly the most beautiful thing about Ponyboy. The thing that really enamored me is that even though there's all this trauma, all this darkness in his life, Ponyboy chooses to focus on forgiveness and light and love. Um, and, you know, Murray Bartlett, our dreamy cowboy, just created so much gravitas for the story, for the audience who's experiencing this ride that is, contrasted by hypermasculinity, crime, oppressiveness. And then you see this person come into the world, and everything just sort of lifts, and you feel this wave of love that you can't turn away from. It represents, the love of your father, the love of your romantic partner, and so many more things that I really don't want to put words on, because I think the beauty of the movie is that it takes you there to those imaginary places, and you start to ask these questions, and that's the exercise.
Yeah, and especially for Ponyboi, the father figure is a key, very, very important issue, as we know. And then, well, my last question is about, how do you manage to be so clear and direct, narrating and telling us the intersex issue of the film that comes when we do not expect it, and that rocks completely our perception of what we're watching.
It was a very delicate balance. Yeah. Interweaving that story. I mean, we had discussions about it throughout the script process of, how much do we want to explain to the audience, how much exposition do we want to give them to clarify a subject matter that people mostly are unaware of, while at the same time speaking in a cinematic language where, the audience can smell when you're trying to over explain things. Yeah. So it was a really challenging process, but I think we really succeeded in the fact that creating a work of art was our utmost priority, and our second priority was uplifting a community who hasn't seen themselves in cinema before. And it was just, I knew that this movie, if we were going to present the world with an intersex narrative, it couldn't be one that was about the tragedy of, what doctors are doing to intersex children, changing their genitals unconsensually. That had to be part of the story, but it really had to be a part of the more philosophical question of what it means to exist in a body, and what it means to be confused about existing in a body, which is an experience that every person, non-intersex, intersex has. Like, it's actually really disappointing to be a human, because you realize how you come into this world and you discover, oh my God, I'm going to age, I'm going to die, like people around me are going to die, like my body is going to change, and it's a crisis. And I think with intersex people, that crisis, or trans people, happens earlier, because you realize that what people told you about your body, or what you thought about your body, isn't actually the truth. And you have to find a way to get closer to that truth in a world that doesn't want you to. And so, that for me, that is the dilemma of the trans and the intersex and the queer experience. And as a writer, I was really trying to hone in on that, as opposed to the particular or specificities of genitals and the things that I think in cinema we have focused on for a very long time in these types of stories. And
it was a step forward,
right,
to tell the story of intersex people. Well, thank you very much for the movie. First of all, thanks a lot to Esteban Arango, to River Gallo here for Ponyboi at the Torino Film Festival. Good luck for the film.
Thank you so much.
And I'm Angelo Acerbi for Fred, the Festival Insider.